Hey, good day, mates. This is U.S. Home Talk coming to you live. Coming to you. What's so funny, guys?
Oh my goodness, what is that like? Are you like an Australian or what's that?
Well, it's U.S. Home Talk, but we always talk about how we're live here every Wednesday at noon, But if you're on the West Coast, it's Wednesday at 10 a.m. It's the morning. If you're on the East Coast, it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon. If you're in Australia, I don't know what time it is over there, but it's a different time. So I figured I would just, I would pay some homage to our international listeners as well.
You're trying to connect with the world audience. You're trying to connect. I appreciate that.
That's right. That's right. We are here every Wednesday live. This is U.S. Home Talk. We're here live every Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time. So obviously take that in consideration, depending on what time zone you're in or even what country you're in. We're here for you. We talk about everything dealing with real estate, mortgages, credit repair, home inspections, and you name it. We are an all-encompassing real estate show, and we like to make it interactive. So if you want to connect with us during the show, you can text in questions, you can call in with questions, you can go to the Facebook feed and you can type in the comment section a question or comments during our show. We're going to answer those live on air. The call-in and the text-in number is 612-234-7585. Again, 612-234-7585. That number is actually live 24/7. So if you want to get in touch with us after the show or outside of the live show hours here, you can reach out to us and we'll connect with you via that number that is scrolling at the bottom of your screen right now. So with us, as always, we have Jason Walgrave with the Walgrave Real Estate Group, RE/MAX Advantage Plus. He is in the Minneapolis area as well as I am. I'm Mike Overson with Luminate Home Loans. We have Marcus Walgrave, Hegg Realtor. Hegg Realtors in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Good early afternoon, gentlemen.
Good day, Mike. Good day.
Thanks, fellas. So just real quick here, and Marcus, I think you're experiencing the same thing. We were 65 degrees 36 hours ago, and we woke up this morning and it was 4 degrees. So in 36 hours, we went from 65 and sunny and people wearing shorts and t-shirts and riding their motorcycles to 4 degrees where everyone's got their snowmobile suits back on.
And a negative 13 windshield to boot with that this morning. It was cold this morning.
It was cold.
It was cold. I mean, that's only like with a 13 below and 65. I mean, that's only that's only a 78 degree change, right? In 36 hours. It's no big deal.
No big deal. Now we're used to it.
I was going to ask you, Mike, on Monday, I was going to say, God, you must be getting your boat ready and filling up the inner tubes and get the skis out, and you probably got open water already, don't you?
The bays are open. The bays where the shallower water stuff, they're open. Right in front of our house is the main part of the lake. We got about 6 feet of open water, 6 to 7 feet of open water, but then there's still ice. And there's enough ice we can walk out there and go ice fishing if we wanted to. So it's one of those things where literally half the lake could be fishing out of a boat, half the lake could be ice fishing still. That's so wild. It's that cool time of year where people look at you and they're out their windows if you're walking on the ice and being like, that guy's got a death wish. What is he doing out there? So
a lot of those.
Our topic for today, right? Go ahead, Marcus.
I was gonna say a lot of those, fish suits. They got that new tech in there where they float. So if you do see somebody wandering around ice fishing this time of year, hopefully they spend a couple $100 to keep them afloat if and when they do fall in.
And hopefully they've maybe done some polar plunges, or maybe they do some cold baths, some ice baths, so they're used to that chill as soon as it hits you. All right, our topic for today. I just wanted to label it's complicated, right? It's kind of like a goofy relationship. It's complicated because what you think should be happening isn't necessarily happening, and what you think shouldn't be happening is happening. It's like, how do all these moving parts come into play? So we're specifically talking about the relationship of mortgage interest rates and inventory and home prices, right? So if you look at mortgage interest rates, if we compare January 1st of this year to today, so we're 2 months into it, January 1st to today, interest rates have actually gone up 0.75% since the first of the year. Okay. Inventory has gone down. Home prices have gone up. So typically when you think about it, it's like, well, as mortgage rates go up, you would think home prices come down because it's like a teeter-totter, right? As one goes up, the other is going to go down to offset the cost. That is not what's happening. That's not what's happening right now. And if we go back to October of, let's say September of 2022, that was the first time when rates hit 7%, right? So as we're coming out of the COVID years, rates were at 3%, 3.5%. All of a sudden we get to September 2022, rates are at 7%. Okay, so we've been in this higher interest rate market now for 18 months. Home prices have not come down, right? So we're going to talk about that today. So interest rates going up a little bit, but home prices still going up, inventory coming down. How does that all work?
Well, the supply is so low, and the demand continues to outpace it. So I mean, it's I was talking to a client earlier this morning, and he moved out of state, but he was talking about two of his neighbors had both sold their homes, and both of their deals fell through due to financing a week before closing. And so what had happened, I believe what had happened is the buyers got pre-approved in December. They were buying at their max, and so if the interest rates go up 1%, it decreases your buying power by 10%. And so these were buyers that are likely buying their max based on the interest rate. They either didn't lock in quick enough, or the rates just went up, more than they thought would affect them. And so in that case, they weren't able to buy the house. So, but with the low inventory, and it's going to continue to have low inventory, not just in the Midwest, but throughout the country in almost every major market, that's not going to change, folks. And so, Mike, you and I were talking earlier. I mean, basically the 7% interest rate has been, here and gone, but it started 18 months ago. Home prices haven't gone down in 18 months. In fact, they've gone up in 18 months. And so there's, and we have a lot of buyers that are being really strategic with realizing that and saying, I'm buying now, I'll just refinance in the fall, or I'll refinance next year. I'll refinance whenever the rates go down to a point that makes sense, or that I want to take advantage of. I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to wait and then pay more. Because that in the last 2, 3, 4, 10 years, anybody that's waited has to pay more because the homes are appreciating. So, and it's tough on buyers, right? Because the rates are so much higher than they were. But folks, we're never going to get back to 3s. Probably never going to get back to 4s. I think we're going to get back to 5s at some point this year, and I think that's a really healthy rate to be at for the consumer, for the lenders. For the economy in general, but if you wait, you're probably going to pay more.
Yeah, I was going to say, jumping in here, I mean, that's what we've seen. A lot of people, when rates did hit that 7% mark, right? So if we go back 18 months, we go back to September of 2022, it's been like a waiting game, right? I'm going to wait for X, right? A lot of people are like, I'm going to wait for home prices to come down because now that rates are at 7% and it looks like they're going to hold here for a while, home prices have to come down. So now if I wait, I can actually get a deal, right? Home prices will come down. I wait 6, 12 months or something like that. I'm going to save myself 10% on that house, or I'm going to save myself 15% on that house because I believe home prices are going to come down because of the higher interest rates. Well, we have gone 18 months and home prices have not pulled back. They have continued to go up. And so it's the people waiting, right? It's like, how long does this cycle, how long do home prices have to stay the same or continue to go up before it clicks of like, if I continue to wait, I'm going to pay more, right? Mm-hmm. Because we see it, we know it, we see it. Our inventory level right now in the Twin Cities metro area up here in Minneapolis, we're at like 6,800 homes on the market. A balanced market, equal numbers of buyers and sellers, where it's like you kind of have like your typical normal market. It's like 18 to 19,000 listings, right? So we're only at a third of where we need to be at to have somewhat of a balanced market. So real estate, from my 20 years of being in the loan business, the number one factor with real estate values is supply and demand. Right now, our supply super low. Our demand is always high here in Minneapolis. We have a bunch of Fortune 500 companies here. We have great schools. We have all that stuff to offer. So a lot of people do come in for those things. And so we always have a high demand here, and our supply is super low. And that's why home prices continue to go up.
Yeah, and the rate game, right, where you're trying to I don't know, bet on the perfect rate. I mean, we saw it when rates were in the low fives, and we had folks that were like, I'm gonna wait till they're in the fours, and then they got into the fours, and then they're mid fours and low fours. I'm gonna wait until they get into threes, and that's like, I'm gonna wait till they get into mid threes, and then it was I'm gonna wait till it gets to high twos. I'm gonna wait till it gets, and it did. I mean, it was July of 21. It was 2.875 for a 30-year fixed mortgage. But that's gone, folks. It will not be coming back. The twos and the threes and the fours. I mean, you can buy the rates down to probably the fours at some point, but again, my opinion is any fixed 30-year mortgage rate in the fives is a good place to be. If you get in the mid fives, great. Low fives, fantastic. But historically speaking, even with the higher interest rates that we have, home prices have continued to go up.
Mike, you send out some great emails, this market screenshot for the day. And I'm referencing the one that you sent out on February 26th. We kind of talk about the signs of consumer spending slowing. That was mentioned in their new home sales rose 1.5% in January. And then the week ahead, or earlier this month, inflation was the hot topic, forgive the pun, hot inflation, hotter than what everybody wanted it to be. Some unfavorable CPI and PPI inflation reports. And then this week there's another important report coming out, the personal consumption expenditures report. So hopefully, I mean, with that, the PCE, hopefully there's more favorable news with that. But Jason, I know we've kind of tried to forecast some rates, and personally, I don't think we are going to see fives. I think the inflation is a little too alarming for the Federal Reserve. They're going to do what they need to do to keep our economy at bay, so it doesn't warm back up, and then everybody's concerned about inflation. But the reason why I say that is because even in the scenario that you gave is like, hey, buy now and refinance when they do get into the high fives, is what was kind of what your opinion is, and yeah, that would be best case scenario. But if they don't go down there, there's no signs that home pricing is going to become more affordable. So even if they stayed at 7 from now until next year, the values of homes are going to be up. So again, the weight game, whether it's this idea of, hey, I can refinance into a new rate, if that's the idea, then move on that. But one thing is certain is the value of homes are not going to rise. The report that you sent out was it yesterday, Mike, and that kind of came out and had the annual the 2023 Federal Housing Finance Agency Pulse Price Index. Case Shiller, 5.6% increase in home appreciation. The FHFA, 6.6, CoreLogic, 5.5, Black Knight, 5.6. Those were the value of homes that increased for the year of 2023. So again, I mean, the demand is very high, the supply is low. If you want to buy a new house, you're going to be in a better position doing it today and getting in there. And let's say the rates go up, to eights, and they stay in the eights or nines. You're going to be pretty happy you locked in at a 7, and so it's the weight game is kind of feels like a lose to me.
Yeah, the weight game I think will cost you more, and the last 18 months has showed that the waiting game will cost you more. Ask any financial planner, right? Real estate is a lot like investing, right? You are investing. You're buying a piece of real estate. You're buying an asset that can either appreciate or depreciate. As we know, appreciation over the last 40 years averages 4.2%. There's very rare cases where you own a piece of property and it actually depreciates from the time you buy it to the time you sell it, right? There was a bubble there, right? The 2006 to 2009, 2010, right? That was the only time in the last really 40 years where if you bought something at the beginning of that and sold it at the end, you lost. For sure, you lost. Outside of that, you gained every single year outside of that bubble. So home prices aren't going to come down. I think it's going to truly cost you more if you wait. And the last 18 months just shows that interest rates rising, interest rates doubling in a 10-month period from early 2022 to the end of 2022, that didn't even slow down appreciation in home values, right? And so it's kind of here to stay. And so that's our message today is like, look, if you can buy a house, if you ask any financial planner, right? Would there be any financial planner that says, you know what? Don't put money into your 401k or don't put money into your IRA because the market's not doing that great right now. Let's wait until the return and the gains are better and then stick your money into it. No, right? There's not one financial planner that would say that. Every financial planner is going to say, get your money in there now, get it in there sooner because it's a wave, right? It's going to go up in value, it's going to go down in value, but the general trend is going to be up on those waves. And the longer you have your money in there, the more wealthy you are at the end of the day. Same thing with real estate. The sooner you get in, the more wealthy you are at the end of the day.
And if you get the chance to refinance down the road, awesome. You're going to be able to lock into a better rate. And not only that, but there's no signs of that house values are going down, as you just said, Mike. So it's like, if that were to happen, you're in a great position. If the rates were to get worse in the future, again, you locked in at a lower rate that you were able to get here early 2024. Again, another win for you. So, if you want to buy a house and you're able and willing to, this would be a great time to do it, and especially right now too. We just haven't really seen like that big influx in the spring market inventory here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And so there's some properties out there that may be sitting on the market for 30, 45 days. Those sellers are kind of getting anxious, and you might be able to come in there and pick up a really good deal on a property. I think, if rates do drop into the mid 6s, low 6s, and we fast forward to 30, 60 days, then we're talking about what we've been saying here the last couple of months. Be prepared for bidding wars. So I mean, if you're a buyer out there and you're ready to rock and roll and you want to buy a house, get out there and chase the ones that are checking the boxes and see if you can't get one under contract.
Yeah, we always talk about there's two costs of buying a house. There's the cost of the house itself. There's the cost of the financing to get that house, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can, one of those you can change in the future, right? One of those you can change in the future, the one you can't, right? You can't change what you pay for a house. As soon as you close on a house at a price, you can't go back and drop the price of the house that you paid for, right? Oh. So if you compare today versus 4 months from now, well, 4 months from now, you're going to be right in the middle of the spring/summer market, and you're going to see the multiple offers, and you're going to be probably paying over list price because the inventory is so low. So if you buy sooner versus later, now here in the spring, you're going to be locked in at that price. You can't go back and change that price, but you can go back and you can change your interest rate. So when interest rates do fall, now that's the one cost factor that you can change and actually reduce in the future when rates get down to that level. Mm-hmm. So remember, there's two costs. Just because you might be saving you think you might be saving on the price of the house, I'm going to wait for home prices to come down 5% or 10%. If you think that's actually going to happen, right? But then you have the cost of the financing on the other side, right? And if rates go up 0.5%, but you got the house for 5% less, guess what? They just cancel each other out. You didn't save a dime. Mm-hmm. And now you guys are speechless because I filled you with all this knowledge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, kind of one of the things too. I mean, we talk about some new construction, right? I mean, I just had a sit down with a builder and buyer and the buyer's realtor, and that kind of got brought up was like, hey, well, if you guys had a crystal ball, I mean, what do we think about new construction costs? Is that going to come down? And kind of the one example that I gave is a lot of the at the consumer level, you hear some of the hot stories out there. The one that sticks out in everybody's mind is the cost of lumber. Lumber skyrocketed, during COVID, and then it, has finally, come down and got more into, where it should be in the price. And that's all really, now you only see in the news, like, lumber. I mean, I haven't seen a lumber article for a while, but when it did, it was like, hey, lumber is, 50% down from what it was a year ago. Those kind of some clickbait stories out there. But, you talk to builders and you say, hey, what about the other building materials? Because there's more than lumber that's used to build the house, and they'll say, well, yeah, I mean, concrete's up, almost 25%, and so there's some building material costs may have come down, but there are plenty others that have gone up, and as we know, the cost of labor is on the rise, and that's kind of that supply and demand issue too. We just have more demand for skilled labor positions than we have supply. So those individuals are able to say, hey, I got 12 different contractors blowing my phone up to hire me for this job. I'd love to do yours, but I got to do it at a higher price. So it's the cost of new construction is going to be on the rise, and I don't know about you guys, but kind of with the builder that we met with yesterday, he said, well, I've never seen the cost of new construction go down in our market here in the Sioux Empire. So interesting.
That's a great point, and it's true. The only way it's going to go down if people just completely stop buying, and so. Which probably isn't going to happen. So
question for you guys. So like in every market, there's usually an opportunity, right? There's an opportunity in every market, a good market, a bad market, a this, a that. What do you guys see would be an opportunity for someone in this type of market? I can start. I have one in mind.
Let's
right?
hear it. You start.
So
let's get the
a lot
ball
of
rolling.
a lot of people are probably contingent buyers, right? We have a house to sell. It's very predictable. We know that our house is going to sell quickly. It's going to sell for this much. We're going to have this much money at the end of the day to go with, right? To work with on the next one. But the next one is the question mark. How many houses do we have to look at? How many houses do we have to make offers on? When are we going to be able to close on the next house? It's scary to sell your house and put it on the market and then not know what your next move is. So an opportunity that I see for a lot of people right now, the new construction route, yes, even though it might be a little bit more expensive, you're still getting a brand new house, right? With full warranties and stuff. But most of those builders will take contingent offers, right? So now you do have the next house locked down with the builder. It's going to be predictable. The house is going to be done roughly in this stage, right? 6 months from now is the estimated completion date. So now you know when you can list your house and all this and that. You can time everything accordingly. So that's kind of one opportunity that I see out there for buyers today, is that if you are a contingent buyer, I think most builders will take contingent offers, and I think that's a great route to go.
So I think another opportunity, Mike, is the cash offer program that you and your team at Luminate have to offer. And folks, as a reminder, what that is it takes a contingent buyer, so somebody that needs to sell their house in order to buy the next one, or they want to use that equity, or and that's been the number one reason in the last 3 years why many, if not the majority of sellers haven't sold, because they know that we can sell their home in the time frame that we're talking about for the price that we're estimating, but the challenge is that the unknown is, well, where am I going to go? Well, I believe you guys can sell my house and close in the next 45 to 60 days. I believe that you can get me the price you're telling me, but where am I going to go? And so what that has done is it puts people in a position where they feel like they can't sell and they can't buy the next house. Luminate Bank, Luminate Home Loans, Mike Overson and his team, they have a program that allows this specific buyer to become a non-contingent cash buyer and go buy the house first. What? I mean, it solves the problem that the majority of sellers, the majority reason why sellers have not sold in the last 3 years, you guys have solved the problem. So now we can go out. I can take you out. We can take as much time as we need. We can take a month. We can take 2 months. We can take 6 months. Found the house. But we're a contingent buyer, is what most sellers think. You're not going to get the house, especially if there's other competition. Nope, not contingent. Actually, not even a finance buyer. Now I'm a cash buyer. I went from a contingent finance buyer, contingent on financing and the sale of my house, into a non-contingent cash buyer. I take as much time as I need to find the perfect house. I found it. I get it secured. I lock it down. Maybe I put the closing out 60 days. And then I go to Marcus and his team, or you come to me and my team. Well, we've already estimated how long it's going to take to sell your house. We have a very, very good idea what it's going to sell for. Most cases, we're going to be able to time it so that we get your current house sold and closed anyway before you buy the new one. So this is such a huge game changer, Mike. This program that you have, it gives the power to the seller, to the contingent buyer, and lets them play and compete on that non-contingent cash buyer field. And so that's a huge opportunity. So I'm super excited you guys rolled that out this year. It's going to help out a lot of folks.
Oh, we lost your audio, Mike. Or at least I didn't hear it.
Looks like he's on mute.
What'd you do? Muted.
All right.
There we go.
He's back.
Too many buttons, all these buttons. So we rolled that out. It's a huge game changer, and it's gained a lot of traction so far. It's nationwide, so Marcus, we can use it for your buyers in Sioux Falls or anywhere in South Dakota. I've already done it with 3 deals down in Florida, a bunch of deals in Minnesota. I mean, it is a game changer. It like you said, Jason, it takes the biggest concern, the biggest hurdle for any buyer who has a house to sell, and it removes the biggest hurdle from that piece of the transaction. So, and that's how much we trust our pre-approvals. So it's our pre-approved buyers that we offer this program to say, hey, pre-approved buyer, we got you pre-approved. You're solid on the loan side of things. We know it. We're going to go buy that next house for you on a cash offer so you can lock that down, and then we're just going to sell it back to you when you're ready to buy it from us.
Yep.
Works great.
Love it.
I think there's going to be some really good opportunities with those homes that are just under $1 million. I know at the end of every year, we get new conventional loan maxes. Mike, I wouldn't want to put you on the spot, but it seems like every year it goes up a good amount, and a lot of those individuals, when the rates were in the 3s and the 4s, you're like, Kyle, you know what? I'm going to finance my entire purchase. I want one loan, one conventional loan. I'm going to put 20% down to remove the PMI out of the equation, and they like that. I think now that with the rates where they're at, you're getting the people who say, okay, well, what's that payment look like? A full finance purchase, excluding the 20% down to get the PMI out of the equation, and they're like, whoo, that's a pretty good monthly payment. I don't know if I'm interested in that. So I think that there's going to be kind of that sweet spot where maybe that anywhere between like that 900 to 1.1 pre-existing home out there where there just may be less buyers for that specific price bracket. And if you're in there, you might be able to do very well with some negotiating terms.
Yep, I think you make a great point. You're going to, especially if you're selling at that bread and butter price point, right, in your market. So in the Twin Cities area, if you're selling between, 300 and 500, those properties are going quick. They're going over ask price, right? You're getting more for your house than what you're expected. But those upper tier homes, right? The 850s, the 900s, the 950s, those haven't moved like that. You're not probably going to have to go over list price to get those. You might even be able to offer under list price to get it. So you're going to make 25 grand more in your sale. You're going to knock off 25 to 50 grand maybe on the purchase side of things by going up to that other bracket. It's a great 1-2 punch in this type of market.
Yeah, or even better yet, you have that seller buy down your interest rate.
Yeah.
You know, instead of taking a $25,000 or $50,000 price reduction, you go in and you have them buy down the max amount of points to get that rate as low as you can. Now you're really setting good. Now you don't got to worry about whether or not interest rates go down, which I think they will. I'm predicting 5.5 at some point this year. I'm throwing it out there. Marcus, you want to put $2 bet on it?
A $2 bill bet.
$2 bill bet. All right.
Yep.
All right.
I'll bet you a $3 bill.
Okay.
That's
Monopoly
what I'm throwing in the pot. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
No,
gonna have
so-
Evan's face.
so-
It's gonna have Evan's face on it. $3
You're
bill.
saying fives. You're saying fives. Like
I'm saying
5.99.
No,
Huh?
I'm saying mid fives.
You're gonna
It's
double
gonna-
down on the mid fives. 5.5. Is that mid? Or are we
Mid
talking
fives.
like maybe 5 and 5 ace? Does that qualify as mid five?
I mean, in my brain, mid fives would be 5.3875 to 5.6875.
Okay. 5 and 5 ace is that's the winning rate.
Yep.
I'll take it. I don't think we're gonna see it. I'm confident in the sixes. I'm confident in the sixes. I think there's a good chance that we're gonna see low sixes, maybe 6.0 come like early like late winter, early fall, right before election. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I think, you know, if you start seeing high sixes, the 6.75 this spring, I think those are going to be some sweet rates to. But again, historically, right? We talk about this, you go back over the last 5-6 decades. If you could get a 7.0 rate for a 30-year mortgage, ask anybody who's owned a house over the last 50, 60 years. Yep. Say, hey, I'm going to get a 7% rate on a 30-year mortgage. They would say, nice. Oh, that's good job. So it's good job. You got to get a different mindset with what these rates are. 7%, that's still a good rate. So.
Yep, I agree. I think you guys are spot on with that. I think it's going to be an interesting year. The election year, right? That who knows, right? Anything kind of goes. Do I think we're going to see 5.5% sometime this year with no points? I don't. I could see it with 1 to 1.5 points, which means that puts us at like a 6%, maybe a 5.99 with no points is what that would be. I think if we get to that level, we are doing good. And I think in next year in 2025, I think that's when we see the new norm of rates somewhere between 5.25 and 5.75 just for the long haul, right? I think we can sustain that in 2025. And really, if you go back a couple years, someone made this point, you go back, let's go pre-COVID, go back to like your 2015 to your 2020, right? Would rates move this much on a daily basis or on a monthly basis? They wouldn't. You would go months and rates would maybe move a quarter and it was predictable, right? Now you go 2 months, now we're 3/4 to a full % different than we were just 60 days ago.
Nuts.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, as things settle in and we get less fluctuation and things just kind of smooth out and we kind of go back to more predictable, I mean, that's just going to help us out. That's going to help everyone out. It's more predictable. It's more affordable. You can plan around it. A lot of good things come out of that.
Real quick here, just a quick stat from my market here in the Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That percent of original list price received. Now this was, this is for the month of January, and kind of when I was talking about our market, obviously, Jason, we've talked about this before. Apples to apples, right? If we had the exact same house, same lot, location, size, square feet, finish, amenities, whatever, same builder, we'll call it same everything, and it was in your market, and then we came and dropped down into my market here in the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area. We're looking like probably somewhere in like that 15% more affordable in our market, same property. same property, 10, 15% more affordable here in ours. And so you kind of have to keep that in perspective. I mean, if I'm saying $1 million house is where you're going to get a good deal, well, that's probably not true in San Francisco. Those are probably entry level houses, in that
Right.
market.
Shack.
But yeah, right. So, but I'm looking at here, single family homes. When you start getting over 700,000, that's the percent of original list price received when it gets to the closing table. This dropping into the 97%. And then we got 97 and then 96% for the million over. And I think that's where, I think what I would forecast for my market is those percentages are going to come down still a little bit more, just because we're losing out on some of those buyers.
Yep, that's a great point, Marcus. That's very interesting. Any other thoughts, guys, gentlemen, before we end the show?
Spring market's here. We're already seeing multiple offers, and I mean, buyers are active. Things are. My last piece of advice is if you're a buyer, act sooner rather than later.
Get
I
your
would
shorts
agree.
and t-shirts on. It's going to be hot this weekend.
Yeah,
Because of the market or because of the temperature?
Both. I tell you what, you get a buyer out there and they get the chance to go house hunting on a weekend like we have coming up here, high 60s, maybe even like 70s one of the days, and they get a chance to spend some time outside, look around the exterior. They're just in a better mood and they're ready to rock and roll.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate everyone listening to us today. You can find us anywhere that you find your podcasts. This is U.S. Home Talk. We will be back next Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time with another live show. We appreciate everyone watching and listening to us, and we'll see you next week.